Dyslexia. My name's Agent, and today's video I think is going to make you spend money. Not a lot of money for exactly what you're getting. The plan for this video was to do a review of The Good, the Bad, and the Savage, which is Troy Mepyans' latest creation, which is I class it as a sort of straight Western. So it uses Savage Worlds, so you are going to need a copy of this at some stage to run it. But it's different to Deadlands, so it's not wild, weird West. It is pretty much spot on, authentic Wild West with lots of research, lots of history. But currently, what Troy has got is this wonderful discount that he's got on, and it's only going to cost you, for everything I discuss in this video, $4. It's going to go up to $8 within about a month from the time of watching, because I had a recent video with him, interview with him, where he told me how long the sort of sale is going to stay. But for $4, this is an absolute steal. For $8, I think it's still a bargain. So what I'm going to do is I'll take you through the drive-through RPG link and show you where you can pick all this up, and there's more to it than that. Then I'm going to take you through the 3 zines. I will timestamp them all so you can see the individual ones. But basically, you're going to get the core rule book, which is the world setting for, you know, how to play the rules, load of NPCs, and some realistic historical people as well. New rules for gunslinging and duels. Then you've got a campaign setting, and then finally an adventure. The campaign setting has got loads of hooks for, I think, more sort of it's just loads in here. There's loads in it. Let me just show you the drive-through RPG page so you can see where you can pick it up. So here we have drive-through RPG. This is my affiliate link, so if you are going to pick it up, I think this is going to be a win, because if you're a fan of Westerns, the amount of material you're getting in here is an absolute steal. But when you grab this, please do consider using my affiliate link in the video description, because anything that's generated on the affiliate link, I then put back into this. Full disclosure, I did not pay for any of these. Troy was kind enough to actually send them all to me. He was really excited when he sort of created them. He just sort of sent them across. What do you think of these? You know, I know you like Westerns. So yeah, let's see what this silver celebration, because they've all hit silver already on drive-through RPG, hence the reason for the sort of discounted bundle. So the bundle's going to stay, but the bundle will go up to what's $5.92, which equates to $8 American dollars. US dollars, I think I should say. So let's just get into exactly what this bundle contains. So we've got a Sinners and Thirst Key Citizen. So this is just a additional NPC. So everything I'm going to show you, this is more NPCs. So the setting book here is The Good, the Bad, and so this is all the rules you're going to need with all the NPCs and things that's in there. We've got the character sheet that's included, the Preacher and the Devil, which is a starting level adventure that will just get the players going. One thing I should say, they're going to kind of want you to be heroes in this, which is a bit of an ongoing theme in here. We've then got the campaign setting, which is wonderful. This is actually outselling all the other two, because I think the amount of information and the sort of source material that's in here, and locations and buildings, and you'll see when I get there, is the reason why this is absolutely sailing through. And then we've got a load of cards for the NPCs as well. So all of that you're going to pick up for, well, it's just under £3, just under £6 if once it goes to full price, which say we've got about a month from time of recording, or it's about, I think it's $4 US and $8 US respectively. So let's get straight over and have a look at what's included in each of the zines. So we're going to start off with The Good, the Bad, and the Savage. You say this is a 28-page zine. Everything's PDF currently. I don't know whether physical copies are coming at some stage. Maybe not. So it says it is silver. It is produced by Tin Star Games, which is Troy's sort of, it's its own sort of publishing company now. And it's created, some of the art is public domain art, but all of this is just created by Troy himself, and then a little bit of editing and layout by David Hill and Alexi Gray in here. So starting off with the table of contents, so you've got, just going through the introduction to the world. What is it? It's a historical setting, so I use world loosely. There's a little bit about the mythic frontier in here, which I'll explain when we get there. As you'd imagine, because it's Savage Worlds, I'm not going to explain the rules in here, but you will get new edges and hindrances, and explanation of those, because if you've played things like Deadlands, it's going to be very similar, but as you'd imagine, this is now using historical weapons, skills that make sense to history, as well as the sort of edges and hindrances making sense to sort of our history as well. So then got some classic archetypes and some unconventional archetypes in here. Then a little bit more explanation of the edges and hindrances. We'll then go to chapter 6, which is combat in the West. So this is fighting gun downs, how to do duels, brawling, knife fights, martial arts, brawl fights, building your reputation, how, the damage you're going to take, because do not have magic. It's going to take you a longer time to heal, so you really need to think about that. Do you really want to put your hand towards your pistol? Because if someone shoots you, you could be out for a little while. Then some example combat scenarios to sort of set up. Chapter 7 is the equipment. This is going to be firearms in the West, melee weapons, special stuff, mounts, wagons, gadgets, etc. Some GM tips as well. Chapter 8 is going to sort of drill down properly into the rules for the setting, which is going to include the high noon and dueling rules, which are brilliant because it gives that element of tension. You've got I'll show you when we get there actually. Chapter 9, Factions, Towns and Organisations. This is going to give you some major factions. So if you just pick this up, this does give you an idea of a setting. And then we've got a campaign, an idea and some adventures and some one-shots. And then some random generating tables for NPCs and things like that. And then we've got a few NPCs in this book as well. Okay, so let's just get into the book itself. Say the good, the bad, and the Wild West, the Wild West, the good, the bad, and the savage. It's a complete Wild West setting. It's sort of inspired by Boot Hill or GURPS. So if you're old enough to remember the Boot Hill game, which we talked about in the recent interview that I had with Troy, because we both have a love of Boot Hill. But the themes and tone, this is cinematic realism. So it is a slight bit tongue-in-cheek and exaggeration on things that the players can do, but it is designed to be a lot more ambiguous. It's a diverse experience. There's land of character in here. So the era is sort of 1865 to 1895. I think it's 1885 is the main campaign set in. That's the year Troy has sort of set all this in. Variety of inspirations for things like Bonanza, Gunsmoke. Again, you've got to be a certain age to have known these. Kung Fu, The Gambler. And obviously what makes it different is because you have got some Hollywood legends in here. It is a frontier location, so boomtown. So there's lots of ranches, homestead, rail towns, eggs, and things like that. So getting into character creation, again, I'm not going to, you will need your copy of the Savage Worlds rulebook, but you've got to think about your concept. You're going to get your 5 core traits, abilities in here. So it's exactly the same. It's going to take you through this core rulebook. But there are a few differences. It just gives you the differences in there because you get a legendary tracker, which is optional. Keep it in. Well, keep it in if you plan to play, the players plan to be heroic people. If they want to be murder hobo type people, you're not going to want the legendary tracker rules. Notable edges. I love the fact, I'm your Huckleberry, regulators mount up. So there's quite a good homage to 90s movies in the title of the hindrances and the edges in there. And then chapter 4, so this will take you through some of the archetypes that sort of built out and give you the sort of start skills and edges. Obviously you're going to need the core rule book because it takes edges and skills from there, but we have got some additional skills in here like shooting, writing, intimidation, and how they change as well. And faith is another one that comes in here. We've got some archetypes: lawman, woman, outlaw, cowboy, cowgirl, tracker, gambler, healer, doctor, preacher, and we get the unconventional ones, which are wandering monk, a inventor, gadgeteer, buffalo soldier, mask avenger. So sort of think, I always get a Zorro, but it should be Lone Ranger more than Zorro, and family, matriarch, patriarch, and then runaway orphan. Next chapter just explains how the edges and hindrances work. So, for example, in the quick draw here, you're going to need a novice level and agility of +8, and you're going to get to draw 2 cards. You get an extra card as you go into the fast draw, so you can hopefully get to it quicker. I'll explain the fast draw rules when we get to them, but say all the edges and hindrances are in here. There's the gunfight rules here, so the combat in the Old West. There's quick fire. There's a little bit more to it that comes on in the book, but you're going to be dealt a single action card to decide who goes first. You get that gunslinger, you're going to get 2, so you've got a higher chance, because whoever's got the highest gets to go first. If tied, showdown continues. You can raise stakes, draw again. You may have hindrances, or you can use your bennies in here, and you may have edges that affect it. There's rules in here for fanning the hammer, ricochet shots. Say it's a straight up non sort of weird Wild West, but because it's cinematic experience, you can shoot off things in it. It's going to be -4. It's going to be a little bit difficult to do, but you can pull it off. Getting into the brawls, knife fights and martial arts. So we've got saloon rules for saloon brawls with environmental hazards, martial arts showdowns as well. We've got some posse attacks, which encourages people to build, posses and fight together. And the damage, it's going to take a long time to heal, and you may actually get infected, so you are going to need certain things and items to help, so supplies to help with the healing. Legendary points, this is what you're going to build up, and you can spend them, which we'll come on to once you get to the rule section, but these are things that the characters are going to gain for doing heroic things, saving people, rescuing, good stuff. The way Troy has written this, he wants this to be very much, it feels like your sort of 70s, say your sort of 70s and 80s Western TV series where it was all good guys. So say I think you could run this. Everyone, if you want to go great train robbery, that sort of thing, there's no reason why you couldn't play outlaws and stuff, and but you'd probably, well, I suppose you could just flip the legendary on its head, call it something else, and give them the boost that way. So we've got some idea of combat scenarios as well. Got some tips here for the games master. So rewarded active creation with bennies. Big part of Savage Worlds is giving out bennies, and a great games master will give out bennies for lots of things. You kind of want to encourage them to spend. We've then got all the equipment, which is timed accurately here, so we're even down to the Colt Peacemaker, which specifically Troy wanted to make it, which is why he said that he's made this in 1885. And a variety of shotguns in here, so we've got some Bowie knives here, and tomahawks and cavalry sabers. Some special equipment, mounts, riding horse, mules, stagecoaches, some gadgets, and then we've got some legendary unique items. So again, this is where it kind of touches on weird wild, because there are specific items like the dock bag here, which is a healer kit with rare medicines. Once per session, you can re-roll a failed healing check. So they're not full-on magic items, but they are slightly more powerful. Like the silver spurs here. Once per session, your horse ignores all fatigue for an hour, because horses are going to get tired in these, and Troy does have rules for here. So reputation legendary, so optional rules in here for the legendary points. So say as you do good things, you will gain additional reputation, and you can use that reputation to increase, to add pluses to social roles, and you can also then spend it in a way to sort of gain additional information, surviving duels, doing heroic deeds, things like that. So it's obviously you're going to lose reputation though if you're a coward or you betrayal or public disgrace. So it is going to play into the game. You can say you could keep the reputation in and do it in a more negative way, but so the good thing is you can run the adventure how you want. We've got some trail bonds as well, so a lot of these are optional. I kind of think throw them in, and this is if you've survived a trail with someone, so from a blizzard or ambush, you then get to, once per session, you can re-roll failed rolls, because if you're fighting together. Similar things with families. The duel at high noon, so this is the expansion for the fast draw rules. So initially you're going to get the stare down, so you're going to do a spirit roll, and the winner's going to get +2 on their first action. Then you get to draw, so you're going to do opposed agility rolls, so quick draw edge if you've got it. winner goes first. There's no dodging. You just resolve the hits called a called shot, and then the aftermath gains a point of reputation. Talks about here about luck and bennies as well, and how to spend them, and additional things you can do. You can have an ace up your sleeve if you want to cheat at gambling, which doesn't appear to affect your reputation or legendary status. Certain weapons and items may be a little bit scarce. As Games Master, you're going to have to do a little bit of additional work in here because it's sort of a little bit ambiguous. So you're going to have to decide which kind of towns and areas are going to be a little bit sparse, but it's your own world to build from. Then we've got it does talk about the Weird West and supernatural, so you can include it if you want. Chapter 9 is going to give you factions, towns, and organisations. So the factions, I'll keep this brief. So we've got like Law and Order, like the US Marshals, Town Posses, Pinkertons, Outlaws, Yellowhand Gang, Black River Boys, and it has some examples of the leaders in here as well. Economic powers, so the Railroad Consortium, the Cattle Barons Association, the Silver Kit Syndicate. So it gives you lots of hints and tips. You have some indigenous nations in here as well, and then it gives a sample boomtown, which is Redemption, Dakota Territory in 1885, which when you get the campaign setting, so if you do this, gives you an idea. So if you just pick this up, the Good, the Bad, and the Savage, you have got some information here about the town that Troy has historically remade. Talks about, the economy and their social structures. You've got some variety of NPCs and an idea of some sort of adventures to run. Then you've got a mini campaign set up here as well. And then we've got some adventure seeds going in, campaign frameworks, themes. And then we get a load of random tables for random encounters, random hills and valleys. We've got some cameo tables, which is things like, bringing in potentially Wyatt Earp, Calamity Jane, Doc Holliday, random generators for adventures, some threats, the twist that's going in there, and then a location as well. And then finally, we have got some realistic and non-realistic people in here. So we've got like the Gambler, inspired by Kenny Rogers, Wyatt Earp, obviously historical lawman, and then we've got stuff like the Wandering Shaolin, inspired by the TV show Kung Fu. So it's nice that we've got some realistic, inverted commas on some of them, people and stats for the players to meet, because anything that is pre-generated does make it a lot easier for the Games Master in here. Some tips on legendary NPCs on how to introduce them. And then we've got 3 villains and notorious figures here. So we've got the Bloody Bill Hawkins, Silas Crane, and the Phantom. You are going to need to come up with stats and abilities for them. But, you've got a bit of hints and tips in here. But I always find not stats and creating stuff is the hardest. Hardest thing I find is the name. And then finally, if you have got Boot Hill and you want to convert the amazing stat blocks and NPCs that are in Boot Hill, it just tells you how to do that. And it's got the conversion as well for GURPS, the old world, some inspiration, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, obviously High Noon, Tombstone, which is probably one of the best westerns I think that's ever been made. Some literature in here and RPGs. So that brings you, so we've got the X, so that brings you to the Good, the Bad, and the Savage, which that's your core rule book. You can get that as a standalone if you want to. I think it's going to be about $2 somewhere around there, but I kind of think you're going to want it all. We then get the Road to Redemption, which is 46 pages, and this is your campaign setting for the Good, the Bad, and the Savage. And this is just going to, it adds an awful lot more on. Here's your map of redemption. So this is the town that was talked about in the Good, the Bad, and the Savage. And as you can see, this is absolutely ram-packed within the footing. All of this here is NPCs names and stat blocks. The rest of it is locations, the buildings, who runs the buildings. You've got different areas, so like the Black Wind Pass here, so it'll talk about the geography, the legends and the lore of the land, some key features, adventure hooks, notable NPCs. That is throughout this book. This book is the one Troy said is selling better. Well, it's faster, it's selling faster, and I can see why, because you kind of need the rules, but if you just had Deadlands, I think you could run this in Deadlands. But if you just had Deadlands, I think you could run this in Deadlands as well. Okay, so this is a brilliantly set up and laid out setting for Wild West, Weird West, however West you want to run it. But the main themes in here, so you've got an endless struggle. It's a place for second chances. So this is right at the edge of the sort of frontier from where it's set. And so the road ahead, so people are living beyond redemption, which there's a little bit talks about. Obviously, this is around the area of Custer, and it's just beyond, I think it's a few years just after Custer. But the countryside itself, so you've got haunted canyons with whispers of gold and outlaws out there, rolling ranch lands, shadowy mines. There's a mine included as a location in here, sacred heights and outlaw trails, and then there's the Black Wind Pass, which is a really good location. We've got some famous frontier figures as well, which again, some additions to what's included in the previous book. Character creation, nicely, this adds a load new edges, hindrances, as well as gives you an idea of motivation and some archetypes in here and backgrounds. Then we've got the explanation of the additional edges in here. They don't quite have the cool names from The Good, the Bad, and the Savage. You know, this is like Frontier Grit, but they are still good. So Cattleman, you know, I guess maybe Troy ran out of movie references and quotes to use, but additional skills in here and some player guidance for creating a character. Additional equipment, so more equipment. More is always best. From a player point of view, if you've got more things you can choose from, the more interesting and replayable the game becomes. And then we've got the Town of Redemption. So if you think back to the map, this just gives the layout of each of the areas. So I'm just going to pick on the Golden Spur Hotel so you can get an idea of the description. So this is a 2-story boarding house with wraparound porch. The Golden Spur caters for travellers, ranchers, and the occasional big spender. Abigail Finch, so most locations will also include, in bold, the proprietor of the place or people that frequent it, ensures the place is both welcoming and discreet, and makes it a favourite for those with secrets and the haven for travellers and lost souls. And then we've got some more notable NPCs over here on the right hand side, which aren't obviously included in the town itself. We've then got, so going to, I think it's 4 key locations. So we've got the Angel Song Canyon, and say each of the locations, it talks about the overview, geography, some key locations within there, dangers and opportunities. They've all got adventure hooks. So here, a desperate family seeks help after their kin vanished, searching for gold in the canyons. Why do people always go wandering around by themselves looking for gold? Sometimes warnings, sometimes temptations. At sunset, the canyon wards are rumored to echo the voices of the lost, guiding and deceiving those who listen. So there is a little bit about myths and legends in here as well. We've got some notable NPCs, some lore in here. So all the areas, we've got Black Wind Pass as well, with this wonderful bridge at the end of it, Paradise Bluff, Stony Brook Mine, Sackett Valley Ranch, which is amazing. I can't think what's the Mariam Sackett. She is the matriarch. That's the right way around. She's now the matriarch of the family after her husband died. A little bit of backstory comes out as time goes on, and she works this massive ranch with her 2 sons here, which actually leads into the starting adventure, the preacher and the devil. It's all around her and her children. We've then got the threats to redemption. So this is so we've got the rival cattle barons here, some outlaws, some additional outlaw gangs as well. We've got some supernatural threats. It does say optional. And then we've got Johann Schubert, and he's got his special helper here, Victor Klein, which reminds me, I think it was Hell on Wheels. You had the Swede. I don't know if any of you have watched that TV series, which is amazing. Which is basically, I'd never realised how the West was built. That that you had these train tracks and people just lived off the train tracks, and they pack it all up. And after they've built a few more miles and just go. And there's this character, the Swede, who plays one of the wraiths in Stargate Atlantis. He's giant, tall bloke, and his character is terrifying. And it kind of feels very much like that Victor Klein. And when I run this, that's exactly how I'm going to be picturing him. We then got some additional campaign tools in here. So, Redemption's under siege from, it's not directly under siege, but it is from power corrupt brokers, outlaws, supernatural forces, depend on how you want to run it. Obviously, it's all sealed off by bridges and boundaries. It's, it's that whole West that I grew up watching sort of TV shows and films with. This is always quite terrifying because, hanging happened. We've got some more random tables in here. So we've got some random encounter tables, town gossip tables. So, for example, strangers seen talking to the Black Widow, the Widow Sackett. Ooh, who could they be? They're probably going to be the player characters. So motivation in here. So we've got some random weather as well as some named NPCs that you can bump into. With then the rest of the book is just playing out with sort of like Sheriff as a boon, who's the lawman leader, and it's a little bit about them right at the top, and then we've got their stats, ability, skills, edges. So you've got everything you're going to need for the major NPCs, and then it sort of condenses them into stat blocks as well, and then just a glossary of term at the back, and as you'd imagine, an index. Finally, we do have Preacher and the Devil, which this is a 18-page adventure that I am not going to spoil. So I'm going to make this one quite brief, but I think it's brilliant that you've got all the adventure hooks from Road to Redemption. You've got more adventure hooks from the Good, the Bad, and the Savage, as well as a starting campaign idea. Troy himself is writing a 5-year campaign for this, so there's a lot more to come. But it is going to include the Preacher and the Devil, which I'm just going to give you the starting bit. So Miriam has just fired 3 cowboys for theft and for assaulting a hand, and they refuse to leave. So Michael wants to fight, and Joshua wants peace. These are her 2 sons. So this is the lady that runs the massive ranch, the Sackett Ranch, I think it was called. And the player characters basically come along, and they've just arrived in the town. They want a place to stay, so she asks them to intervene. Now, how they intervene, whether they do it through gunfire, diplomacy, or whatever, will have a bearing on the rest of the adventure. It so happens that the people that needed to leave may or may not be gang affiliated, and it kind of falls apart from there. And then the heroes do what heroes do. I say it's 18 pages in here, well laid out. We've got a variety of different rumours and different sort of gangs in here. We've sort of hinted on the main, and then right at the back we've got a whole list of NPCs and stuff like that. So, and then this amazing map. Troy actually took me through. This is a historical map of Nebraska and the Dakota County, and it's actually dated for 1885, and it's amazing. So it's I'd say it's worth it just for this. I love looking at historical maps, just for names and things. So that is everything you're going to get in this silver discount thing. It's absolutely incredible. So it's just over 100 pages for $4. I still think it's an absolute bargain at $8. But say for the next 30 days, from time of recording, you can pick this up for $4. So you've got everything you need. So if you have never played Savage Worlds, I say you haven't got quite everything, you are going to need to go and get yourself a copy of this, because that does have the cool rules in it, because there's additional skills, hindrances, and things like that, and archetypes that you're going to need. And also the player's going to need to level up as they go through. However, this, my initial thought was, do I need this because I love Deadlands? And I don't get to see, and there aren't many modern, incredibly well written, historically accurate, normal cowboy western settings. And I love the fact that this has got everything that I need in here. And I really, because Troy originally sent me The Good, the Bad, and the Savage, and I was like, this is a really good book. And he went, I think you'll like this next one better. And I was like, I don't need any more. I've got everything I need. But then you look at it and you go, wow. Other than the last book, The Preacher and the Devil, both of them you could buy by themselves, and they are completely applicable to do whatever you want to do. Actually, realistically, you could do The Preacher and the Devil as a Deadlands adventure as well. But grab them all together. It's so much value in here, so much replayability. I'd say Troy is building a 5-year campaign. Go and watch the interview I just did with him. I'll link it actually, so it'll pop up here in a few minutes. so you can actually find out more about it. I'll go and timestamp the interview as well, so because he talks a lot about Ashlands at the start, and then all of this is the second part of the interview, and it's absolutely wonderful listening to him. The passion he's got, the knowledge that he's got from the area, and how the county has really supported him, and the information, the photos and stuff that he's actually been sent. But say there are tons of NPCs, both good and bad. So many locations. There are 5 actually fleshed out locations with adventure hooks. All the NPCs you're going to need in it. It's wonderful. So I did plan to do 3 videos on these. I'm glad I've combined it, because I think this is probably going to be the bargain of the year. And it just makes sense to keep it all in one place. I said enough. Go and spend your money. Go and buy this. You're not going to regret it. And what are you going to spend $4 on? What? Coffee at Starbucks? I don't know. I don't drink coffee at Starbucks, but I'd imagine that's about $4. Or you can grab this and just have fun for years to come, knowing there's more coming. So well done, Troy. You've actually knocked this out of the park. Can't wait to see where it goes from here. Thank you for sending me again. Say if you do pick this up, when you do pick this up, please do consider using my affiliate link. Say anything generated on there does automatically go back into the channel. For everyone that is, thank you for using it. As ever, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Help my channel grow, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.